Racing Bulls turned heads at Zandvoort. Both cars made Q3 and Hadjar scored his first podium. Everything clicked. Clean driving, smart pit calls, and real pace on a track that cruelly shows up any lack of balance or traction. That single weekend forced a question nobody expected. On raw speed, are Racing Bulls now on the same level as Red Bull? And if they are, is Max Verstappen the only thing keeping the senior team ahead? It sounds wild until you line up the facts. If Verstappen really is the dividing factor inside the Red Bull family, then you have to wonder whether he'd actually feel more confident racing for the sister outfit from Friday to Sunday. Lawson has taken a big step forward, points in 3 of the last 6 rounds, probably 4 without that unlucky incident. And Hadjar ended a 5-race drought before turning Zandvoort into a clear statement. Strip away the emotion and the pattern is simple. Racing Bulls seem easier to drive, simpler to set up and more forgiving when drivers push. That isn't a lazy take. Lawson has grown noticeably since moving to Faenza. Tsunoda visibly wilted as soon as he switched cars. This isn't about skill so much as philosophy. The two machines ask for different things. Remember, Red Bull is built around Max Verstappen's very particular driving style, and that makes life tough for anyone paired with him. Don't be fooled by the standings. On paper, the Red Bulls sit 4th and VCARB are 7th, scrapping with Aston Martin and Williams for P5. A quick look tells one story, the fuller picture tells another. Racing Bulls lost valuable points early on because of rookie mistakes and awkward pit wall calls, and in a tight field, that loss adds up fast. Weekend points are just the arithmetic of races that are often decided by how the car feels from the very first run in FP1. Ask the drivers who've sampled both cars which one gives them confidence. The timing screens already give the answer. Even Fernando Alonso has said what many are only whispering, hand Verstappen the Faenza car and he'd be in the title fight. Alonso pointed to the start of the season when Tsunoda was consistently in the top 6, then fell out in Q1 as soon as he jumped into the senior car. The language is direct. The kind only someone who's seen championships won and promising projects fail can use. You can shrug off paddock gossip, but you can't dismiss Alonso's instinct for how a car behaves. Laurent Mekies tried to calm talk of parts being shared by going back to basics. Different teams start from different ideas, follow different paths and solve different problems, so you can't simply copy a design in modern F1. That's technically true, but it misses the emotional core of the argument. If one car feels like a partner to its driver and another feels like a stranger that hides what it will do next, numbers on a spreadsheet stop mattering. The year turns into a daily battle with grip, and the driver ends up on the back foot. Even Max hinted at a truth no champion likes to voice. At Zandvoort, pure lap speed looks leveled between Red Bull and their rivals, and that equality is a warning flare. Listen to Verstappen's rundown of a stint and you hear why. He's forced to be cautious in the fast corners, carrying a margin through T7 and T8 while others keep more speed, and he isn't getting the front-end feel he asks for. He wasn't getting enough rear grip when he put weight on the tyre. The conclusion was obvious. All race he felt more suited to the sister team than to the front runners. That shouldn't happen in a car that carries the most successful driver of this era and a factory packed with championship trophies, and yet it has. The numbers match the feeling. Since the shuffle, Tsunoda has scored 9 points in Red Bull colours, Lawson 20 and Hadjar 37. That doesn't mean Yuki isn't a fighter. It's a flashing warning about how sensitive the car is and how narrow its setup window has become. We ripped into Perez last season for being inconsistent while his teammate tore off with the title. Step back and the pattern is clearer. Even Cadillac offered Checo a seat on merit, not as a charity, a sign of how many people in the paddock see balance problems in the Red Bull concept and how those problems can either suit or ruin a driver's style. So where did it start to go wrong? You don't need conspiracy theories to connect the dots. Adrian Newey's departure. First the senior lieutenants like Wheatley and Courtney go, then Christian Horner is shown the door. Helmut Marko frames it as a performance call. Those aren't small tweaks, they're shocks to the system. You don't replace years of know-how in a few weeks. You can't nail down a 2026 car direction in a straight line when the org chart is being reshuffled every few months. Mekies is a heavy hitter, but even he can't rebuild the team's foundation this late in the cycle. That leaves a messy short term. Racing Bulls could iterate faster on feel and drivability, while Red Bull wrestles with a design that only pays off if it's perfect. Behind the garage doors, the talks will be brutal. When Hadjar spends a whole race about 2 seconds back from a 4-time world champion with equal machinery, people don't just shrug. For months, the gap between the Faenza duo and Tsunoda in Red Bull spec was written off as confidence or adaptation. Zandvoort blew that excuse apart. Verstappen himself praised Hadjar's pace and how close the cars were. The message is clear. If the baseline is this tight, put Max in that seat and he's on the front row. And from there, he's fighting for the win. That's not wishful thinking. That's the pattern his career follows. Could it actually happen? On paper, contractually, politically, and in public, it's messy. In practice, he could pick chaos, stroll across the garage and try the experiment. He isn't fighting a title or protecting a points buffer, so he has a rare mid-season freedom most champions never get. Or he could simply be a driver who adapts faster than anyone since the peak of Alonso and Hamilton. A car that's easier to understand is like oxygen. If Lawson and Hadjar are already getting this much from it, imagine what Max could do with his pinpoint turn-in and throttle control. You can laugh at the idea, but the data won't laugh with you. That's exactly what should have Red Bull worried in the medium term. Verstappen's public commitment only runs through the first year of the new rules, at least that's how the paddock reads it. After that, every development misstep chips away at trust. If 2026 opens without a clear advantage, if the car still needs saving through corners a champion wants to attack, if correlation gremlins keep wrecking Fridays, then every alternative becomes more attractive. And the sister team turns into proof that a different culture works. The competition is evening out. A top driver with options starts behaving like a person again, not a walking ad. You can still make a case for Red Bull bouncing back. There are too many clever people in Milton Keynes to stay off the pace forever. But racing doesn't pause while you figure things out. Everyone else keeps working, learning and spending. Red Bull have built a car that lets its drivers attack without fearing the limit. Right now that's gold, and Zandvoort showed it in stark relief. That doesn't mean Red Bull are finished. It does mean the lead in comfort and belief has shrunk so much that the driver's touch often decides the result on Sunday. So back to the provocative question, would Max Verstappen win in a Red Bull if he jumped into one tomorrow? The safe answer, you can't know until it happens. The frank answer, nothing in his record suggests he wouldn't. If that swap ever took place, even for a weekend, the verdict would say far more than one race. It would blow the lid off the single biggest weakness at Red Bull since people started leaving. Not politics, not PR. It would be a failure to simplify the car so people could understand it while the team's internal bearings were spinning. And if you think he'd just let that slide, then you know this isn't some late summer thought experiment. It's a warning flare, and time is already running out. What do you think? Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts on this topic, just leave a comment below and let's discuss. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and activating the bell such that you won't miss any new videos. If you are into Formula One, you can check out my channel page. There are many more videos like this which you can watch in the meantime until a new video gets released. See you soon in the next video.